Okay, so I'm looking at the home screen right now, and you can access your yearbook site through yearbookavenue.jostens.com. You want to make sure you're logging into the job year 2021 and enter your username and password. So from the home page, you'll find the new page designer from the Create tab and then under Layout Pro. All right, might look pretty similar to what you're used to, but there are some major differences. One of the big differences is this here, the tabs are over here on the left side, whereas they used to be on the right side. Should I go to a new page here? So the first tab here is Pages. One other thing that might stick out to you as different is the grid lines this year are actually different. I'll zoom in a bit using the zoom slider, kind of just show you what I mean by that. In the past, these grids here were kind of just all even grid lines, but this year they're separated into these rectangles. They're 2 picas wide, and then these squares that are 1/2 inch wide. And the reason for that, this is called something called a Swiss grid. And what the Swiss grid does is it lets you proportion your elements a little better on the page. It kind of makes your text align nicer. And this was a new kind of concept for me. So I'm just going to Google Swiss grid to show you all some examples of what that could be. This was really helpful for me when I first was looking into it. But see here, see how they're the same smaller rectangles and then larger squares. This kind of just shows you how you can organize some text. Here's some other designs with Swiss grid in mind. So that is a reason why these grids are a little different this year. Okay, so I did go over this first page tab here. This is where you can look at your yearbook pages. You can kind of scroll through, see all the pages in your yearbook. One new feature about this tab this year is there is a drop-down menu here. So you could view all yearbook pages, or you could view the ones that are just assigned to you. This is pretty useful if you have a class, if you have people working on a yearbook, multiple people, you can have them look at only the yearbook pages they're assigned to. All right, so I'm on a blank page here. And the next tab we have is Designs tab. This is where you're going to find the majority of your templates, templates you've created under the custom category. There'll be my templates here, templates from last year, as well as the templates that we have for you, such as advertising templates for ads, all sorts of sizes, portrait templates, broken up by the size of portraits or the number per page. There's also templates based on just different things such as candids, clubs. Pretty much any of these has usable templates. And if you want to use one of these, you can just drag and drop them right to your page. They kind of are set up in spreads like this, but you could drag a left one to the right page or right one to the left page, totally up to you. If you knew a kind of a number, one of these design numbers from the kit book you received, you could go ahead and search that in here to find a specific template as well. I'm just going to put some templates on my page, maybe some club templates. I'll do one club template and one portrait template. Okay, so a couple things we notice about this template is this is just placeholder text. This is kind of familiar to most of you who have been advisors in the past. Empty image boxes. One thing about this portrait template that might look a little different is the portrait boxes this year are actually separate boxes than the activity image boxes. And I'll go over more about these portrait boxes later, but you can see that they're kind of all one big clump. They're called a flow element. So these portrait boxes are specifically for portrait flowing. The rest of these boxes on the page are just for regular activity images or candid photos. So moving on to the images tab, this is where we can access the photos in your yearbook, ones you've already uploaded or upload additional photos. So you're probably going to want to access the activity or the activity category here. These are folders you've created under your image library, which is also under the Create tab. Now from here, you can upload additional photos if you'd like, just by clicking on this button here or dragging and dropping. If you have 2 monitors, this is pretty helpful. You can just drag and drop right into this little area. So if I wanted to, I can upload more images by clicking this upload image button, or I could upload right from Google Drive by clicking the Google Drive icon. I think I already have a couple photos in one of these folders. All right, here I do. So looking at the images here, we have some sorting options. There's some filters here. This first filter, it shows the unused images only, and that's going to just show me images that I have not used on my yearbook yet. Kind of a nice sorting option if you just want to see new images. The second one here, it's going to show only the tagged images. And this would be if you have, say, students in your photo that you have the names tagged. This would show only images that have been tagged. You'll notice here that there's like a little tag symbol. This will show you that you've tagged somebody in these photos. Now at this point, if there was somebody in one of these photos I wanted to tag, what I could do is I could click this eye icon, open up the tagging menu, and just tag the student here if I wanted to. Pretty quick process. We also have a third option here, a third filter option. This is called list view. This just kind of gives you a smaller preview of each image. Say you have 100 images in this folder, this would make it a little easier to go through. If you knew the name of your image, you could also search for it here as well. Okay, now that I have some images, I want to put them on my pages. So to do that, just drag and drop them over. One thing I'm seeing is that these text boxes here are turning red, and these image boxes are turning red. That's telling me my image isn't big enough to fit in those. This one here, it's green. Telling me a duplicate image, but that's okay. Fits right in there. Drag and drop a couple more. See if I can find one big enough to fit in these boxes. All right, so I have some images on my pages here. Just drag and drop them right over. One thing you might see about these images, if they're not tagged, they'll show up with this little tag image icon here. And that just shows you if you still want to tag these activity images, lets you know which ones are and are not tagged. You can kind of turn this off if you'd like from the view menu. It's under show image missing names tag. So that's kind of annoying. And that won't print on your yearbook or anything like that. It's just kind of to help you see if you have tags. Some cool things you can do with images once they're on your yearbook pages. You can do something called image swap, which allows you to swap images between the photo boxes on your page on the fly. And to do that, you'll select an image first, then hold your control key on your keyboard, and then drag it to one of the other boxes. And you'll notice they turn green if I'm available to drag it there if it fits. It'll turn red if it's too small to fit in there. And what this does is it allows you to kind of resize your images on the fly and just move them about these empty boxes, kind of find what works best for your page. And again, that you hold the control key to access that when you have an image selected. You can also do something called image cropping. If you just double click on an image, it opens up the cropping menu. From here, I can change the focus of my image by dragging the image to make it a little larger, just changing what the focus of this image is. From here, I could also rotate the image. When you select an image, you see this menu that appears here. This is what we call the contextual menu. This only appears once you've selected something. So right now it's not there. I select an image, shows up. This is where you're going to find the majority of your image, like editing things, such as effects, like if you want to do some corner rounding of your images, you want to add a little transparency, tint, you can do drop shadow, text wrapping. This would be if the image is between text, you could kind of wrap it behind the text. We also have the snap edit feature here. And what snap edit is, it's similar to like Instagram filters. You can open up the snap edit. We can add filters to this image. We could adjust the levels of this filter, or we could just apply it completely with the checkboxes here. From here, we can do some other things such as image rotating. If you don't like a change you've made, you can reset it back to the original. From this menu, you also have the cutout background tool. It's under this mask section here. Click mask, and then it kind of allows you to cut out the background around an image if you wanted. It's kind of be useful if the background's distracting or you don't necessarily like what's in the background. You have some options here when it comes to erasing this background. There's a smart eraser, which kind of tries to predict what to erase and what not to. You have the eraser, which just gets rid of everything. And then you have the uneraser, which allows you to kind of put the background back in case you decide you want it again. Or just erase a little bit more. Now, if I like my changes at this point, what I could do is I could save it, and it will apply my changes to the page. See the background's cut out a little bit right there. You can also access the cropping menu from the contextual menu as well if you'd like. Same with double clicking on a photo. You can apply a stroke to a photo. You can duplicate a photo. You can arrange a photo. What this is kind of layering. So if I wanted this photo to be behind this title here, what I could do is I could change the layer and send it to the back so it's behind everything. You can do a lot of these same options with text. So if I select this text box here, I can kind of do some text editing as well. I get this contextual menu, same arrange options. All right, next tab we have on the list is the art tab. And this is where you can kind of add shapes and some artistic elements to your yearbook page. So the first option here is image frames. These are just brought over by the template most of the time, but if I didn't like how they looked or I wanted to start from scratch, I could use these frames here, drag them over, resize them if you'd like. You can also just click on it and it goes your page as well. Maybe I want some different shaped image boxes. In this section, we also have clip art. And this is where you can see all the clip art that's provided by Jostens. You can kind of go through the categories here, bunch of different categories, borders, headlines, and illustrations is broken up into several categories. Now, if you know something that you want specifically, like a piece of clip art that fits a theme or something like that, one easy way to find that clip art would be to search for it. So if I wanted something red, I could search for red here and get all sorts of different options. Maybe I wanted a square or something like that. I spelled square wrong. If I wanted anything really, I could search it. You know, if you had an idea of what type of clip art you're looking for, the search box is the great option for that. Next thing we have is shapes, and this is kind of generic shapes for your page. All sorts of shapes we have here. Drag and drop them over. If I wanted to edit these, I could change the color, maybe fit my theme a little better, add a stroke to it. Maybe I wanted to use the duplicate tool over here. I could duplicate it on the page. And a couple other things you can do is if you select multiple elements, there's two ways to do that. You can click and drag over two things that selects them both, or you click one and then you shift click another. That'll also select both. When you have multiple things selected, you have a couple more options. One of them being group. If I click group here, they're now grouped together and they'll kind of always stick together. It's pretty useful if you have things that you know you're not going to want to move separately. I could also duplicate both these things at once if I wanted to, save some time. Okay, we also have flow elements in the art tab, and I did touch on these earlier. This is what this is right here, flow element. But if you wanted to start from scratch, you could get your own flow element from the art tab. Drag it over to the page. You can find these flow elements from the art tab as well as the flow tab. They're up here. I'll go over these flow options more, but just know quickly you can adjust them how you like under flow options here. Kind of shrink them, my page. Last section we have under art is backgrounds. And these are the backgrounds that Jocelyn's provides for you. So just you want to look through these, see if anything fit your themes. If you want to use these backgrounds, you can actually just drag and drop them right to the page and they'll apply as the background. But this is the only section where you can do that. If you have your own images you want to use as a background, or maybe like your own, just a solid color for a background, how you would do that is you just right click on the page and click change background. You'll see this new change background menu. And from here, you could just choose a solid color if you liked, or you could actually upload one of your own images to use, as well as choose from our clip art. If there was a piece of clip art that could fit as a background, you can use that as well from here. You'll know if it fits as a background because see how some of these are like grayed out. They have this red border around them. These can't be used, they're too small, but this one right here, it would work perfectly as background. You could add a tint from here as well, make some little transparency to your background. If I wanted to apply one to the other page, you can do that as well. Or just do a solid color. Okay, any questions so far on this stuff? If I'm going too fast, let me know, I can slow down. There are quite a few other options you can do to your page to kind of customize things. One option here we have is to turn off your grid lines. If you want to kind of just preview your yearbook page without the grids, see the grid background here. If I click this grid menu, what this will do is it'll turn off the grids, show me what it would look like if it's printed. We can kind of also see that option up here from this print preview page. What this will do is it'll show me a PDF preview of my page, and I could send this out to other members of the yearbook committee if I wanted to, maybe a principal. I could save it or print it from this menu. You can also add comments to your yearbook pages. These are kind of useful if you're working with more than one people or just want to give yourself a reminder of something. That can be done by this comments button up here. And then when you add them to a page, they appear on your page like this little thought bubble, and they look like that. They're purple. So you can add comments from the comment button up here, or you can do it down here from this menu right here. This comments menu, this kind of gives you an overview of all the comments on your pages. See here, I have just one called new comment. If I wanted to delete this comment, you could click it and delete. If I wanted to add a new comment from this menu here, add it just like that. Now, some nice things you can do with these comments is you can resolve them. If you click the checkbox next to it, it'll show up as resolved. So one way that this would be useful is maybe like you put something like add background. And once you add your background here, you can mark it as resolved and then maybe say done or something like that. If you have multiple people working, they could talk with each other here under the comments. So that can be found, this comments menu can be found down here in the bottom right. Another menu we have down here in the bottom right is what's called the paste area, or paste board. So you can kind of see around your yearbook pages, it kind of changes color. What this paste board does is it allows you to put things on your pages that you might not use, but just you still have them in the outside like this. If they're kind of like potential things to add to your page, and these won't get printed or anything like that, but they would just be for kind of give you creative ideas, or maybe just drag them on if you decide you are going to use it, or maybe sub it out. So you can turn this pasteboard view on and off. From this comments menu here, we also have what's called the pre-flight menu. The pre-flight menu is under this pre-flight tab here. Looks kind of like a exclamation point triangle, caution. We have several options here. We have the PDF proof, which is also up here. We have spell check, which is also up here as well. And then we have these are the errors that you'd see if you go to submit your yearbook pages. And you can address these issues before you go to submit your pages from this menu here. And tell me here I have a text element remained unedited. If I want to see that on the page, I can just click it, and note they're all kind of highlighted by these yellow exclamation points. If I click on one, it'll highlight on the page here. And because this is a template I brought over, there's going to be a bunch of things I still need to edit on this page, but I'll just kind of update some of these. Now, once I have that updated, I can press this refresh button here, and it's going to reduce my error count. So if I wanted to, I could just go through this list, resolve my issues here, refresh it, it'll show my error count go to 0. Question, how did I get to the pre-flight menu? So that is down here under the comments menu. It's this first option we have here in the bottom right, and then it is the second tab, pre-flight. But a lot of these other tools in here, like spell check and PDF proof, they can be accessed up here. So from this pre-flight menu, you can resolve all these errors. Once you resolve, you can actually complete your pages right from here, if you'd like. Okay. So that covers pretty much everything in the art tab. Next is onto the text tab. And this is where you're going to add your text boxes. Last year, you used to be able to press a button to add a text box. This year, you drag and drop over. So I'll delete some of this extra text on here I don't need and drag over some of my text. And you're seeing here, these are called styles. There's some styles that are kind of pre-existing on your site. The first time you log in, you'll see some styles there, but you can add your own styles. So these are just kind of quick text options. If you know you're going to be using a specific font size for like a body text, for example, or maybe a specific headline, you can set it up as a style. So to do that, there's two ways you can create a style. You can do it from this page designer menu and just click the add or remove styles button, or underneath the plan tab, there is the styles page. So I'll just quickly add a style to show you what that's like. All right, so here we're at the styles page, kind of viewing the styles that I already have here. Click the add style button, I can add a new one. Now, at this point, I can choose some options. I can name it, choose the category for my style, choose my fonts. And you might notice here I only have a couple options. That's because these are the only fonts that I've added to my yearbook site so far. If I want to look at the available fonts, I can do that from the fonts tab up here, or I can click this little manage fonts button. This brings me to the fonts list. Here, if I could just go through and kind of look at the fonts that I like. I could sort by specific types if I knew what I was looking for. If I find something that I like, I can click this active, inactive slider here. And what that'll do is it'll add it to my list. Now I can select that font to use as a style or on my yearbook in general. Okay, so go back to my styles page. I'm just gonna add a style quickly. Choose my font size. And you can do an attribute here. This would be like if you wanted it to be bold or italics. Only some fonts have those options. All right, now I'm going to go back to Page Designer and I'll add my new font or my new style I just created right here. Go back to my page. All right, so got my new style. I can drag and drop it right to the page. Now at this point, I can still edit it. Even though I have it as a specific style, I could change the font if I wanted to. So maybe later down the line, you decide you want it to be something different. I could still go through and change that heading. I could also change the style of it as well. You know, also the font size, add a stroke, update the color of it, fit my theme a little better. Could add a shape color, which is kind of the background color of the text box. All sorts of text editing options here. You can underline, change the case. This could be useful if you have like a heading you want in all capital, maybe a title. I could also adjust my spacing. This is useful if you have multiple lines of text. I could align the heading or the text within the text box from here. Just like that. We also have our text formatting options, transparency, drop shadow. Very similar to what we have for our image and shapes. Okay, that's pretty much covers it for the text tab. Any questions so far on what I've went over? Okay, next tab I have here is flow. And this is where we get into flowing the portrait images. So most likely, most all of you are going to be doing this throughout your yearbook. It's a very useful process, saves you a bunch of time. So first thing you need to do for this is you need to make sure you have your portrait images uploaded to your site. And I already do. But if you don't, you want to send your portrait CD to us in the mail or reach out to your rep about sending a link to your portraits. Because when we upload your portraits for you with the PSPA information, it automatically tags the names of your students for you. And that's going to allow you to use this flow feature here and just get them all to your page pretty much instantly. So in this flow page, we have some options. We can add another flow element. Say we didn't already have our flow element on the page, I could add one right here. I choose my category, which grade I want to flow. I'll just choose one. I can choose my name format, whether I want to flow first, last, last, first, things like that. One important thing here is you can choose which page you want to do your flow onto. And this is something you have to manually update. So it looks like I want to flow to page 5 here. So I'm going to just make sure this is set to page 5. It's also going to tell you how many images we have to flow and how many have yet to be flowed. All right, so now it looks like I'm about ready to flow. I'm going to hit the flow button. Tell me I don't have enough image frames, but that's okay. And it also wants me to save my changes, so I will do that. Okay, my flow just went through. So a couple things with this we might notice. The first, when it gave me that message about not enough image frames, that means that probably not all my portraits are going to fit on this design here. And another way I can tell that is over here in this flowed images section, it's telling me I have 6 remaining. So that means not all of my portraits actually made it to the page. So if that's the case, I'm going to reset my flow and I'm going to add some more boxes here to fit all my photos. So I can do that from the flow options. I did mention this earlier. Add another row to my page. Actually, we'll add another column. Actually, I think I need a column and a row to get everybody in there. Make my portraits a little smaller to fit. So this is just showing some of the customizations you can do to your layouts. You know, at this point, maybe if I decided I want my names instead of below, maybe I want them above, I could change that as well. Or if I had enough space here, I can make my names to the side, just like that. All right, so I'm going to flow my portraits again now that I have enough boxes. Save my changes. And there we go. They all flow to my page. Easy as that. There's some customizations you can do to your flow elements as well. Once you have your portraits on the page, you can crop your portraits just by double clicking on each photo. You're going to open up this crop menu, and then you can click on the crop icon. So if I wanted to kind of adjust the portraits, I could do so on an individual basis. From here, if I wanted to update the font, things like that, if I decided that one of these names wasn't fitting right, or maybe I just want to adjust one specific name, how I would have to do that is I either have to change the name in the tag, which I could just do from here by clicking on the tag. once my internet opens it up. So if I wanted to adjust the name, I could do it from the tagging menu here. Just click on this little pencil icon. Maybe this student had a misspelling in their name. I could just change that. And at this point, what I would want to do is reflow this grade. But if I didn't want to change the tag, maybe there's just something mild, or I just wanted to maybe bold in one of these names or something like that, what I would do is I'd go to this flow options menu, and I'd use this new option that I have here called expand flow. And what this will do is it'll let me break apart this flow element. And this message here is telling me that once I expand my flow, it's no longer a flow element. It's kind of broken apart, and I can make as many individual edits as I want, but I can no longer flow to it. So once I hit this, it's going to break apart all my flow objects. At this point, I could individually edit these names, maybe add a stroke or something like that, update the font size of a specific name, maybe move one specific portrait somewhere. So you still do have the options to move individual flow elements, but it kind of separates them out of that flow box. All right, from this flow tab, we also have another option. I'm just going to save my page and go to a new page. We have the index flow option here. And what this is it allows you to flow an index list to your yearbook. And I think this is really useful for parents, and it kind of helps them see which pages their student is going to be on the yearbook. You'll notice some of them already down here. So I'm going to drag one of these index flow elements to the page. I'm going to choose how I want them to flow, whether it's first, last, last, first. Choose my style here. Maybe I'll just do body text 2. I'm going to choose the page I want to start on. In this case, it's page 6. Stop on page 6. And then I'm going to flow. And right now we're looking at a list of the students that are in my yearbook. So these are all the students that I flowed on that previous portrait page here. And it's going to show that they're in page 5. That number 5 after all these students, that's showing that they're on page 5. Okay, 2 more tabs to go. We have the layer tab. And now this is where you can adjust your master templates. For those familiar with that, this is something that you can do to make an edit to all of your yearbook pages at once. So right now my master template's blank, so there's not really anything being added to all my pages. But for example, if I wanted to add my school's emblem on a master page, I could edit my master page. And we'll see, we'll say my, let's find a good, maybe I just wanted to add, maybe I have a sports section or something like that, add a football helmet. Now I'm adding it to this master page here, and it's going to now appear on all my pages of my yearbook using the master page. See that? See, I'm going through my pages, and now my football helmet's there. So normally I would advise leaving the original master page blank and then just making your own master pages. And so what you could do with that is I could just make a new master page by clicking new master template. Maybe I wanted this for, we'll just do test 3. But this could be something to just apply to a subsection of my pages, maybe just for portrait pages only. I could edit this test 3 here. And maybe in my portrait pages, I wanted a piece of clip art. It was a camera in my portrait section. Maybe right here. Maybe I also wanted a background in my portrait pages that was a specific color. I could do that as well. So now that I have my master page 3 created, test 3, I can apply that to any page that I'd like. And I can apply that from the page ladder, which is under the plan tab. So from the page ladder, I can choose which master template I have applied. And by default, they're all using master, which is the first one I added with the football the helmet. So maybe I just wanted a couple pages to use my new portrait template. So what I would just apply that test 3 template to these spreads here. Now these pages in my yearbook, once I hit save up here in the upper left, I'll go back in and I'll notice that those pages all have my applied master page to them. This page, for example, used to not have this color background. All right. So you can add other things. You could do other kind of customizations with these master pages. Maybe I wanted to update my page numbers, all sorts of things you can apply to multiple sets of pages as well. Jennifer asks, is that how you can add a folio? I'm not exactly sure what you mean by folio. Maybe you could ask me at the end when I unmute the microphones. Last template or last tab we have here is the history tab. And what this does is it lets you view a kind of an in-depth history of your pages. So you can choose which page to view, and you can kind of sort it by date, or you can sort it by user. So if you wanted to look at a specific user's edit, maybe you had a student that you wanted to see what work they were doing, you could go through here and you could see what edits they've made. Maybe if you decided you wanted to restart on this page, you could pull up an edit from a long time ago, even from scratch, you could start over if you wanted. Oh yeah, yeah, page number. That is how you. So page numbers kind of go by default, but if you wanted to do a customization to your page number, you could do that from the master template. But by default, your page numbers are on every page unless you go ahead and delete them. So if I would delete this page number here, if I wanted to add it back, how I would do that is from the text. There's already a pre-built template or pre-built style called page number. I just click that, add it back in. Just gonna pull back my page here. Okay, so now would be a good time for questions, but I'm gonna go over some kind of advanced editing features in the yearbook site and some kind of the advanced options we have here. So under view, we have some things we can hide and show, pasteboard, rulers. These rulers kind of show you your page dimensions up here. Could hide and show those. Page margins. Turn my snap to grid on or off. What that does is it kind of changes how I move. When snap to grid's turned on, it automatically snaps to these boxes, to the Swiss grid boxes. But if I turn snap to grid off, I can do incremental movements and kind of go in the middle of the boxes. Also from zoom, I can zoom in, zoom out, change my view to only view a single page if I'd like. Switch that back. From edit menu, we have change background. We can do find and replace from here. If I had a specific piece of text I wanted to replace, spelling, I could do a spell check, make sure it's underlining my errors, add something to my personal dictionary. And then there's select under edit. So this is a really useful tool. So you go to edit and then select. And this allows you to kind of do mass updating to a single page of your yearbook. So maybe, for example, I wanted to update all my image boxes on a page. I can go to select and then images. And that's going to select every single image box on this page here. And I could apply mass updates to all these image boxes at once from here. Maybe I wanted to add a drop shadow to everything. I could do that. It's pretty useful for text as well. If you wanted to update all of the text boxes on your page to a specific font or something like that, I could select all my text boxes and choose a specific font. Notice a lot of these are now too big for the text boxes they were in. One other cool one you can do from this select menu is the color option. If you do select and then color, I can replace a specific color on my page. This would be useful if you're kind of updating your theme from last year maybe, or just you decide you're going to redo your theme. If I didn't like this orange color anymore, I could change the fill color, get rid of this orange, and maybe I wanted to do something like blue or something like that. I could replace all that orange color with this blue color on my page. Make sure I get all the shades here. Just like that. I can do this with text color as well, and stroke color and drop shadows. One more nice thing about the Yearbook website is the color options you have here. So we have all these color options available for you, broken up into different sections. If you decide you wanted to create your own, you can do that as well. You can do that from plan and then color palette section. I'm gonna save my changes quickly. Notice it prompted me to save my changes there. So I go to plan and then color palettes. And from here, I can either deactivate some of these existing color palettes, maybe modify them a little bit, get rid of some colors, turn them off, or I could make my own. I already have one in here called red. What that looks like is just a bunch of different shades of red. But if I wanted to add a new one, maybe I'm like doing a blue theme on my pages. So I could go through and add some blues. All right, so now this color palette here has all these blue colors. I'll go back to Layout Pro, and I can kind of use my blue theme. A different page. You notice my blue theme. You can do this with kind of anything you want. You could really sort it however you like, but I think a useful way would be just by colors like that. All right, any questions so far? I'm gonna let anyone unmute their microphone if they'd like to and just ask me it with their voice if it's kind of a longer question. So feel free to do that. If there are no questions, I'll just go over one or two more things and let you all on your way.
Hi, I'm Jennifer. I was the one asking about the folio.
Okay.
So, like if you have like a cool little design at your page number, it's called the folio.
Oh, thank you. I didn't know that.
And I know Justin's used to have this feature years ago where you could just, it would even change the number for you. So all you had to do was like drag your folio design over to the corner and it knew what was on and everything. And I was wondering if you have that or if we have that still.
Yes, you do. So the page numbering themselves, it's kind of automatic. So right now I'm on page 2 and it's showing page 2 down here in this page number. So that's just going to automatically do that. You don't really need to have that in your master template or anything. But the folio you're talking about, I would want to do that from the master template. So if I knew I was going to put something behind my page number on every page, I could update my master template here. And then maybe I'll find a piece of clip art. You'd probably have something that you would upload, but let's see here, something that would work well. Maybe just a mascot or something. And you would just put it down. You could put it down here in the area where your page number is. And then save it to your master template. One here. It looks like in this book, my page numbers are on the inside of my right page. A lot of times I'd have them on the outside. So saving that as my master template. Now I'll go back to my pages here and I'll see how there's that template there next to all my pages. So I just have it a little adjusted to the side, but I could have adjusted it like right behind them. Does that kind of answer what you mean?
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, of course. Anything else?
I was wondering too where spell check was again.
Okay.
Just wanted to
Yes.
quickly, if you wanted to like select all your text boxes and then do a quick spell check.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So with spell check, you wouldn't even need to click the text boxes or anything. You would just go to your page, and then up here we have the spell check button right here. So it's kind of by the print button. This is what the spelling menu looks like. I don't have too much typed on this page. It's all filler text, but I'll type some stuff. And so I just misspelled the word teacher right there. Here's what it looks like when it gives you the suggestions. So now I could ignore this, add it to the dictionary, or change it. So I could find that spell check from up here, or there's a secondary place, which is in the pre-flight menu, and that is down here in pre-flight, and I could do run spell check. And this pre-flight, it wants you to do all these things before you can submit your page. So it's going to make you run the spell check and proof your PDF before you can actually complete your pages. Okay, anything else? All right, I don't hear much. If you would like, I will send this recording out to everyone. If you run into any issues in the meantime, or down the road you decide you want to do some kind of learning on your own, the digital classroom area is a great place for that. You can click digital classroom, and then there's a whole section towards the bottom of digital classroom on the new yearbook site. It's right here. It's called Layout Pro. Click out in Layout Pro, and there's a bunch of videos here, over 20 videos of different sections and different tutorials. So if you kind of forget anything, this area will be a great resource for you all. And you can also email your rep with questions as well. Same with me. My email is support@schoolannual.com, so feel free to email me with questions as well. But I hope you all enjoy your day. Thanks for attending. Talk to you all later.